Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Larry James. My company is Speak with Larry, no spaces. And we have a guest today by the name of Albert Kaufman. He is a social media and email marketing thought leader. He teaches small businesses how to get the most out of their time and effort using the tools of the trade, such as Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Constant Contact for email marketing. Via small classes and one-on-one coaching, Albert has worked with healthcare professionals, restaurateurs, photographers, and many other types of businesses to help their marketing efforts succeed. With 20 plus years in high tech as a software quality assurance engineer, he's also very good at sharing tips about how to make online life and computer use easier. So with that, I'd like to welcome Albert to the show. Welcome, Albert.
Thank you very much, Larry. Thanks for having me.
Great, great. I'm sure glad you were able to make it. You know, my objective this year is to do 50 of these little, interviews, right? In preparation for preparing to start an actual video podcast. I've got an audio podcast that I do once a week, and I've been doing that for just over 5 years, right? And I decided I want to go into the visual, but I do a lot of videos. So I want to get more comfortable with the introductory of certain things, you know, just kind of preparing myself for that next level of that. So how did you get started in what you do?
Sure. Well, I love telling the story. I used to be a newsletter creator when I was a kid. We had a youth group that I was a part of, and I was the guy who went to the mimeograph machine and took care of making sure that the newsletter for our group went out every month, I guess.
Wow.
And so I would collect information from various people and compile it, and then type it up and create it and add fun little images and stuff. I'm realizing I'm sitting in a chair, so things are shaky. Let me see what happens if I do this here. I'm going to just sit on the ground.
Okay.
How's that working for you?
Whatever you're comfortable with. Like I say, I like for these to be very casual, because with technology will make you have a mistake. It'll go out on you and come back on, make you look unprofessional. So I just like casual for these.
Great. So yeah, so that was how things got started for me when I was younger. And all along through my life, I've always been somebody who's liked to be the reporter. And so about 12 years ago, I was teaching class. I had a full-time job in the energy sector. I was a software tester for the Bonneville Power Association. And I decided to start teaching people how to use Facebook, because I was noticing people were gravitating towards Facebook, but people weren't really using it the same way I was. And I was acclimating to it quickly because I've been in high tech. And so I started teaching my friends and family and anybody who was interested. We would sit around in my living room, and I would demonstrate on a big screen TV, but sometimes just people would bring their laptops, and I would show them tips and tricks, things that I'd figured out on Facebook or learned from other people.
Okay.
And then after doing that for about a year, just sort of part-time, and when the spirit grabbed me, oftentimes it was free. Sometimes I would charge $11 because that's the number that I kind of gravitate towards. Okay. After that, the Constant Contact got wind of the fact that I was doing that, and they invited me to come and present for one of their conferences. And then I started to become affiliated with them, and then I started learning about email marketing and using email newsletters. Even before I ran into them, I think I was using their service, but once I started affiliating more closely with them, then I became a partner, and now I have about 250 clients who use Constant Contact and who call on me from time to time for anything from, fix my newsletter to write my newsletter to like design a whole strategy for me. And then I also have my own newsletters that I send out sort of as, more tips and tricks on how to do things, trends in the industry, how to get your newsletter written. How to get your newsletter read, right, and other things like that.
So you're kind of like living your passion. You're living what you love to do.
Yeah, I am. At this point, I'm really pretty pleased with the way things are unfolding. People reach out to me on a fairly regular basis for information on how to help them, or they need help, and I can often help them. And if I can't, I know enough people in the industry that I'm in, which, like, broadly speaking is marketing, that
Right.
I can find somebody who's like the perfect fit for them. And I also have gotten really into networking over the years. And by networking, the way I see it is having a sense of who might work well with who. And so it's not just, oh, you need a plumber, here's a plumber.
Right.
When
Right.
somebody asks me for a connection with somebody, I'm usually really wait and see if it lands in my heart and head, and decide whether or not to connect them or not. I don't just willy-nilly connect people. So when I connect people, usually it really is a good match, and people are pretty pleased about that. And it's not something I've ever figured out how to monetize, or maybe even want to monetize, but I do it fairly frequently, and it's led to a lot of good collaboration.
Wow, wow, wow. Well,
Yeah.
and that has to be because you know the people that you're referencing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The type
Yeah,
of
it's knowing the people, it's knowing how they work,
Uh-huh.
it's knowing what they're looking for,
Right.
and like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Because I'm a firm believer that we're kind of like put on this earth to be givers, to give.
Mm,
And you receive by giving, but
right.
you don't always receive in the same way. But rest assured, you're going to receive if you're giving from the right place. And when you're able to give and actually receive the finances for giving, because this is what you love to do, then that's like a win-win, right?
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of
Yeah,
people,
I definitely agree with that.
but a lot
And
of people can't
so,
identify with what they like to do. Have you run across that?
wait, say that question again?
A lot of people can't identify with what it is they would like to do. Because I've heard people say,
Yeah,
I would like to help people. I know I want to help people, but I don't
right.
know how I want to do it.
Well, I would say also a lot of people come to me maybe for one thing and then end up leaving with something different.
Okay.
Someone will be like, oh, I really want to, have my Facebook page work for me so that it does X, Y, or Z.
Right.
And then I'll say, well, for the result that you're looking for, which is to have better clients or to have more reach or whatever it is, that may not be the tool for you, especially nowadays.
Right.
So, I'll often teach people about how to use Facebook groups, or how to use LinkedIn, or more often how to build an email list. That's really like my main bread and butter, and my main forte is getting people to realize that building an email list is something to do, and the steps to do it. So
Right. That's actually, I believe, the basic thing you need to have when you do online business. You need to have an email list that you're constantly growing. Because that actually becomes, that's actually your world. Those people know, like, and trust you. They get to know, like, and trust you. And you want to be authentic with those people so that they do know who you are and what you stand for. Like you said, you wouldn't recommend someone that has a bad character to someone that needs something done.
Right.
Because it would also make you look a certain way as well,
Yeah. And people have been on my email list for 12 years. And
wow, that's a long time.
Oh yeah, I've got right now probably about almost 10,000 people, depending on different parts of my life, are in an email.
Are you a blogger as well?
I am, yeah. So I write. Usually, what I'll do is I'll create the newsletter, and then I will post the content somewhere else. Like, for instance, today I was taking a newsletter that I'd recently written and posting it on a long form LinkedIn post. And I'll probably take that also, and I also put it on my blog as well. So I'll take one piece of content and then multi-purpose it.
Gotcha. I do the same thing. I do the same thing with videos, though. I like to do videos because, to me, people watch videos a lot more than they read. But it just depends on the videos or how you title certain things, or once someone gets familiar with your content. They know you bring great content every time you create a newsletter, then they automatically be drawn to that, right?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think it's important to do video as well. I've got a bunch of training videos out there. I've got a YouTube channel. I wouldn't say it's the most active place where people hang out with me, but I would say probably email is still number one. But I like to do video as well. And I don't know if you remember Blab, but Blab was a platform that's a little bit like Zoom, but it happened big time about 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay.
And it struck. I mean, if you caught onto it and you got into it, you got into it. And there were people like you who hopped on there and became, does Blab mean anything to you?
I'm not familiar with that.
Okay. Yeah, if you do a little looking, you'll see people's blabs that they created, and basically it was like what we're doing right now. You had the ability to add 4 people.
Okay.
You know, kind of like a Zoom conversation with 4 people. So you had 4 squares to work with, and you could, sometimes it was just one person talking, sometimes it was a person interviewing like you and I are doing now.
Right.
And for about a year, it was just this very potent thing for people who are bloggers, for people who are interviewers, for people who are thought leaders. Everyone gravitated to that, and I love it. I love being interviewed. I love talking on camera. Sorry?
Did they get bought out?
No, they decided that they'd had a lot of success and they wanted to change what they were doing, and they brought back the platform that they had created. And when they did that, I sort of lost track of where it went. Gotcha. And now, since the new situation with COVID, everyone is flocking to Zoom, and there's a lot of the same kind of activity happening, but people haven't ever really figured out how to do what we were all doing on Blab just a little while ago. And that was some cool stuff. So yeah, in fact, if you look at my YouTube channel, I've got a couple of those on there.
Oh, you do?
So,
okay,
yeah.
I'll check that out for sure.
Yeah.
What's your YouTube channel?
It's my name, Albert Kaufman.
Okay, that's simple enough.
I'm having some fun here with lighting. There we go. That's better.
Hey, this is the new world. This is what the world is coming to. That's what I love about it, because people like, I'm 62, so people in our generation can actually do this. Not just think about it, because my target market are baby boomers. People have retired or preparing to retire, and like you teach. You probably run across a lot of people who are not really familiar with the computer, right? Even at their age.
Yeah, I would say the world that I'm, playing in right now, it's mostly people from there are people in their 30s, but mostly probably at least 40s until 70s.
Wow, 70s?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah, because I started, 12 years ago. So people in their 60s were with me, and now they're in their 70s, probably some people in their 80s.
Right. Are your clients mostly entrepreneurs, or they just have like something they just like to do things online?
Oh, it's all over the map. I have like radio stations, restaurants, yoga studios, individuals who like teach things. So, people who teach music, people who are personal ceremony type people who do officiating at weddings, and that type of thing. I've got places that are like hotels and, more restaurants, all sorts of businesses. It's really quite a cornucopia.
That's what's interesting too.
Yeah.
A lot of that, but the skill that you've acquired over the years, it seems like, it's invaluable. It's like, if you could take that from your head and put it in someone else's head, they could become successful overnight because of, what they can recognize, right?
It is. It's a very valuable skill to have right now, and it's very much in demand because, anything where you can help people market online right now, I think is very valuable. And so many people are looking for ways to make a living. They're looking for ways to get a product out, or get the word out about a product more than they were in the past. Right. And so, I have a pretty powerful skill right now. That said, so much of what I know is stuff that it's taken me years to learn. And a lot of times I think for people, they just are going to have to try stuff and make mistakes and, get it wrong and then learn the lesson and move on. But, there's a certain amount of stuff that I can help people, move forward with their project or their product or whatever or their cause or, just themselves. But there's a certain amount of like the person has to just dive in and try stuff too.
Right, absolutely. Because what I find to be more of a challenge for a lot of my clients is that the consistency. You know what I'm saying? They'll do it for a day or a week or a month, and then all of a sudden they'll start to pull back and go back to the comfort zone.
Right.
You have to kind of keep on them for a while.
Absolutely. Yeah, marketing especially is all about repetition. It's just
Absolutely.
about constantly reminding people, I'm here, I am here, I am here. You know,
If
my
you need
product
me.
is this.
Yeah.
Here's my product. This
Right.
is my product. And if you stop, then people forget. Their email addresses go bad. They buy from somebody else.
There you
They
go.
forget who you are. There's just all sorts of problems with stopping. So you have to really be committed to doing something. For instance, with email marketing, it's just a once a month type of thing.
Which is why it
Yeah.
needs to be something that you really do like, or
Yeah.
passion for. Because I teach that it's absolutely necessary that you understand what you have a passion for. Because a lot of times people can't identify what that is. And one of the ways I tell them to think about how they would want to identify what they would have a passion for is to imagine if you walk into a bookstore or a library, and which section kind of pulls you that way, right? And if you can
Right.
identify that, that's a good place to start, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's something that interests you there. So
Right.
you can learn new skills as you're finding your passion,
Right.
But the thing about it is you have to make the effort. The effort's not going to come to you. You have to consciously make the effort.
Yeah.
So what would you recommend as a good beginning tool for someone who's interested in like starting just like an online presence, not necessarily
Yeah. So
just online.
people can go to my website, albertideation.com. I have tools there. I have a whole page just called tools,
Right.
albertideation.com/tools. I personally recommend, and I have a link there called Working Together. And that basically spells out how do I take the email addresses that I already have, everyone I know, everyone I've ever worked with, my friends, my family, all of them, put them into a spreadsheet, look at the spreadsheet and figure out who's in your life already. And then see, okay, are there 10 people? Are there 100 people? Are there 1,000 people? And then start putting them into segmented lists. So like, for instance, your family, you put them into a list and you say, hi family, it's me, Albert, and I've decided I'm going down this path. And by the way, I hope you're feeling well. Here's an article about how to get through this time without going crazy. Here's a place to buy masks, whatever. And by the way, I've started this business and it's this. And then for your friends, similar kind of message. Hi friend, it's me. Hope you're doing well. Reach out to me if you feel like keeping in touch or, checking in. Isn't it beautiful out today? And here's what I've started doing. And then for past business people, similar kind of message, So that's like the first round of how I would start is basically with an email list or email lists. And I use Constant Contact. I'm a partner with them. I've been with them for 12 years. I think the product is really simple to use. You can scale up quickly if you want to. You can, create an email. I can create an email thanking you for having me on the show today in about 5 minutes. And, like if I had to thank 100 people.
How regular would you recommend that they continue this process?
Definitely, depending on which list you're writing to. If you're writing to friends and family, probably, once in a while. I have a list that I have a newsletter that I send out every month to my friends and family. It's called the 11. I was born on the 11th, so that's why it's called the 11. But my business list, I send out twice a month. But really, the minimum is like once a month. You need to send something to everybody once a month. Maybe your family you don't write to as often, but pretty much everybody else, send them something once a month. And then it's also, you start thinking about branding. What are you selling or what are you offering? And then having some kind of a consistent look and feel. And that's where you get into what you were talking about, or really doing like the discovery process about what am I about? And you figure out what your passion is, you figure out which direction you're going, and then you take a step in that direction. You can always adjust. You can always say, whoops, I went in the wrong direction. But you start walking, you start going. And you'll find out if it's right or not. And people will tell you, through unsubscribing or writing back to you and saying, what are you talking about? Why are you writing to me about this? Or you'll hear back from people who love what you're doing and are excited to support you. If you have friends, if you've been nice to people, But you don't want to wait too long to get started. It's like, if you want to get going with things, you actually have to take a chance and put something out there and see how it goes. You can also start with just writing to part of your list. Let's say you have 1,000 people on a list. You can write to 10 of them and see what the reaction is. And that'll give you an idea. Okay, I wasn't quite on track with this, or I had some misspelling or made some mistake in this way. But you take the steps and you start moving in a direction. And then you also put into practice ways of gathering new people. How can I get new people onto this list?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The content creating part, like when you're writing them, do you have a platform or what is it called, template for people to kind of follow, as far as like you have to actually create this content yourself? Like when I create videos, I have to create the content myself. So that's a lot of thought going into that, research going into certain things. So that needs to be part of their plan as well, right?
Sure. But when you're sending stuff out to people, it doesn't have to be like a master's thesis. I mean, basically we're talking about maybe one image, maybe a couple of paragraphs of text, and a link to something. Like let's say you're selling a new fixture on a rake, and we'll call it the Power Rake. This is actually a product that I'm working with a friend on. It's really cool, actually. It attaches an extra rod to the side of a rake, so that instead of just raking like this, you have like two pieces that come together, so you can kind of use them as a fulcrum, and it helps you rake or shovel or hoe. It's a really cool thing. It's called a rocket rake. Anyway, so let's say you have a rocket rake. So, hi everybody, it's me. I've got this rocket rake. Here's a video that shows you how it works. Here's how to order them. I'd love it if you'd take a look and see what you think. Please forward it to landscaping people that you know.
Gotcha.
That's month one. Boom. Month two. Hey, it's me again. By the way, we've got this new attachment that also fits on shovels. It looks like this, and then you just keep going like that. And then you've got content also for the future. Like let's say someone joins your list a year from now, you can save those newsletters and have them be like drip campaigns for people. So you don't even have to rewrite them. They can just start whenever they get on board.
That's cool. I like that. I like that concept. Now, as you, I'll say, mellow into your latter years, what does your life look like, as far as like, do you ever plan to stop doing what you're doing?
Well, I think my plan, I would say it's more only do things that my hope would be that I could just keep doing the kinds of things that I'm doing, but really only do them for people that I want to work with and on projects that I'm excited about. That would be my plan. But I don't really ever intend to stop. I enjoy the interaction. I enjoy the camaraderie and the connection with the world. I don't have a plan of like stopping at some point and sitting in front of a fish shack and drinking beer and watching the waves. That's not really me. I like to be involved. I like to be engaged. And I really enjoy also the community of people that that are thought leaders in this space. Fascinate me, and we're always coming up with new stuff. So I intend to be around as long as I can, as long as my fingers can type or my voice can speak,
I like to ask people who come on the show, when you look at your life, how your life has gone throughout your life, when you think about your beginnings, was your beginnings as far as like you had a mother and a father in the house, or a single mother, or how were you raised from, the point like elementary,
sure,
8th grade, on up to where you are right now?
Sort of like fairy tale a little bit, mom and dad, a brother and a sister, suburban home, New Jersey.
What number were you? 3?
I'm the oldest.
The oldest? Okay.
Yeah.
Did you feel a burden with that along the way?
Not really. No.
Do you feel like they were following you?
Sorry?
Do you feel like your siblings were following you?
Following me, like in my footsteps, kind of thing?
Like watching what you're doing and kind of living life, understanding life?
Somewhat. Sure. Yeah.
And that didn't make you feel like responsible or nothing like that at that point?
No, I don't.
Never did?
No, I don't think so. I feel like everybody was an individual, and the question doesn't really land for me.
Any other writers?
Yeah, my brother is also he's also involved in marketing. He does imprinting. So
Okay.
like the shirt that you made, the shirt that you're wearing, for
Right.
instance, or the shirt I'm wearing,
Uh-huh.
you know, he does that type of thing. In fact, right now he's got his business is called DKG Promotions. He's out of the DC area, and
Uh-huh.
he just started switching into providing things like masks for
Oh, okay,
for
okay, yeah.
people,
Gotcha,
you
gotcha.
know, things that are related to the epidemic
Uh-huh.
or the pandemic, sorry. And yeah, I wouldn't say that my sister's a writer. I mean, we're all, you know, we've all like been to college and things, so we've all done some writing, but it's really, I would say I'd probably write more than both of my brother and sister.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah,
Are you have you written books already too?
I have not. No,
You've not written books and you're a
no,
writer?
I mean, if you look at my blog from 2008 till today, or, you know, I don't know, I've been writing my whole life. I've probably written enough for a few books, but I've never compiled anything.
Wow, that's interesting. That's interesting.
How about you?
Yeah, I've written several books, but I was listening to a guy uh, talk to actual guy that was a writer, and the
Uh-huh.
guy that was a writer was talking. Let's say he was talking to somebody like myself, and I hadn't written a book, but you're a writer, and I'm getting ready to write a book, and the guy and I would ask you, why haven't you written a book?
Mm,
I'm writing a book, and you're a writer, and you know, and it made sense to me because that's our world. That's what we do. We create. We're creators. Everybody's
right.
a creator in their own right. I believe actually we all create the life we live, but only the successful will admit it. You know,
Mm,
everybody else says, no, it was because of this or because of that. But we all made those decisions and those choices along the way. So at the end of the day, I am where I am because of what I did, right? And you're where you're because of what you did. But looking back on your life, is there anything you would change?
oh boy. Well, you know, there's definitely at least one relationship that I would have liked to have extended longer
Okay.
and given a little bit more uh, thought to how to make that happen. I feel like I kind of let somebody get away that I wish I had not. But at the same time, you know, I did my best in the moment
Okay.
as I could.
We live and
Um,
learn, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Otherwise, you know, it's an interesting question. Nothing really comes to mind. I've had a pretty charmed life, and I'm pretty grateful. Like one of the things that I'm a big fan of is going to music festivals, and
Okay.
I've been going to music festivals since I was a kid. And as an adult, like I'm the person who goes to more music festivals than anyone you know, and I really am so grateful, especially right now. Everybody's like crying that they're not getting to go to their favorite music festival.
Right.
I've been kind of wanting a summer off for a really long
I
time,
got
and
you.
I'm getting my wish with
Right.
everybody else getting to join me. So that's
You
kind
play
of
an
fun.
instrument? Do you play an instrument?
I do. I play the guitar. Hmm.
Okay, good,
Yeah,
good, good.
right
I,
here.
I never acquired that skill, but I never really had an ear for music. That's
Hmm.
probably why. But I like music, but you know, I've never had a understanding of how it makes you feel doing it yourself. You know, like
Mm.
yourself. So I guess that's what kind of pulls you in, right? You like that the way it.
Oh, I didn't really have a choice. I grew up in a musical family,
Oh,
and
really?
it's
Oh,
just been part of my life the whole time.
now that's what's interesting to me when you talk about people. That's why I like to ask people how they began their life, because if you grew up in a certain environment, like I tell people this all the time, if you take a young lady that's 17 or 18 getting ready to graduate high school, a young guy that's 17 or 18 getting ready to graduate high school, and she grew up in a household with a father and a mother, you know, maybe a sister and a brother like yourself, and he grew up in what I call a survival mentality or a survival environment where he saw people get killed. He lost his best friend, his dad went to prison or something like that, and he was raised in an environment where uh, he didn't trust people. And those
Hmm.
two got together, that would be kind of a hard situation to go move forward with, because he would identify certain things in the wrong way, wouldn't he, when you think?
I don't know. I couldn't predict how two people would or wouldn't come together depending on their backgrounds. You know, I think you know, love is a interesting thing in that way.
Okay, okay.
You know, you could be absolutely right, but I've also seen people come together who had very different backgrounds and somehow managed to connect. Yeah, sort of depends where you are, you know, when you meet and what your skills are in that moment. Like right now, my level of skills in terms of like emotional, what do they call it? Like EQ, emotional quotient, you know, I think are pretty high. Like I don't necessarily, I'm not searching for somebody who's troubled or has a really difficult past, but I could see myself partnering with anybody really if the star is aligned correctly.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
One final question on that note is, do you believe that two people ever love each other at the same way? Like I'm loving this person 70%. That's all I can give. I'm loving this person 100%. Do you believe that the two people ever love each other the same?
Well, we are way off the topic.
I know. That's my forte. I like to get more into the mental part, and then, you know, we can always talk about the business part. But
yeah,
life is about, you know, communicating on different levels, I believe. So
yeah, I'm not sure how to answer that one. I mean, I know for my own desire in relationship is to be giving 100%. I think if I'm not able to give 100% and the other person isn't giving 100%, there's no
right
for the relationship.
Right, I believe that too. I believe that.
Yeah,
that's absolutely the way to do it, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing because you kind of get like little red flags along the way. Okay, well, with that, looks like we're coming close to the bewitching hour, Albert. I really have enjoyed having this conversation with you, and this is one of the things I love about technology, because before I started sending these out, I didn't know you existed, and you didn't know I existed. I was going to write a book one time called The Day Our Paths Cross, because I believe that once your path crosses somebody, you're never the same, because you can no longer say, I don't know Larry James. And I can no longer say, I don't know Albert Kaufman, because I do. I never shook hands with him, but I can recognize him. You know what I'm saying? And that's,
I like the idea for the book or the movie.
Right, there you go. Absolutely. Okay, well, listen, before you leave, give me that website one more time so that I can send
Sure. AlbertIdeation.com.
Okay, how are you saying that?
ALBERTIDEATION.
Idea talent?
Ideation.
Oh, ideation. IDAITION?
Yep.
Okay, got it. Okay, well, listen, Albert, again, I appreciate you sharing your time with me today. And at the end of my shows, I always like to say, my name is Larry James. My company is Speak with Larry, no spaces. And as always, share with someone else what I've shared with you. Okay, thanks, Albert. I appreciate it.
Sounds good, Larry. It's great.